Good morning, good morning. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm doing the Snoopy dance.
I'm doing the Snoopy dance, too. I'm in a happy mood this morning and just glad to be alive here on this Thursday morning in a week that's absolutely flying by.
Right? It's a very quick week. I think someone speeded up time.
Is that possible?
It seems like it's possible.
I know. It seems like it's possible. Like it's like somebody's running around the merry-go-round and pushing it really fast.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Memories of childhood.
Flashbacks of flying off the merry-go-round. Because I couldn't hold on any longer.
Do they even have those anymore? I don't know.
I think that they got rid of them because they were so dangerous. Kids were
everybody's wrap the kids in bubble wrap.
That's right. No more fun. Too dangerous.
So really quickly, everybody's talking about this. I just want to make a quick comment about President Trump and Robert Mueller's wanting to interview him, his desire to interview him.
Yes.
President Trump cannot help himself. He has no filter. I'm sure his lawyers are like, oh, my God, no, you cannot talk to Robert Mueller ever, because President Trump will just say whatever. And if you're under oath and you misspeak just a smidge, they're going to say that you committed perjury, and then it's game over.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that Trump, in his very long life, has been questioned by lawyers a gazillion times, because the man's been sued a gazillion times.
Yeah, but I don't know that he shows up. His companies have been sued. That doesn't mean that he has to show up.
Well, I'm sure he's had that experience more than a few times. I'm just certain of it, and that his lawyers have advised him that he's got some skill set, and that he's not going to be tripped up so easily. And he'll go in with a room full of lawyers, and the lawyers will answer every question first, and then Trump will just kind of nod his head, whatever it is that he does. Yeah.
Now, if he goes before a grand jury, he doesn't have a right to an attorney with him.
But I don't think Mueller's going to get much from him, I guess is what I'm saying. Long way around. I don't think if Trump sits down with him, I don't think he gets much from Trump. I think the lawyers are going to lawyer it out, and Trump's not going to actually say much.
Yeah, because see, in law, in law, it's when you open your mouth that you cause trouble for yourself.
Yes.
So, I don't know. He has a tendency to fly off the handle, or he'll say the right thing in the room, and then he'll walk out and tweet something completely the opposite. Right.
And then you've got him. It's like, what? You just said this, and now you're saying that. Well, and it's funny you mentioned him going under oath. You found an article where they basically said he said both. He would sit down and talk to them 100% under oath, and then other times where he walked it back and said that he wouldn't.
That's because his lawyers are like, oh, my God, no.
Yeah.
I'm certain of it.
But it's classic Trump, He's on every side of every issue until he actually has to do something, and then you find out where he actually really stands.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy making, because you never know where the guy's at, actually.
I just think it would be a mistake for him to talk to Mueller.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was listening to another radio talk show yesterday as I was driving, and he talked about the criminalization of politics, where, is this the pattern now, where there's criminal activity, and so everything is blown up out of proportion.
Yeah.
Having said that, it looks like, the stuff that's going on with over Comey, from the flip side, the two people, the two FBI agents, Strzok and I've forgotten her name, that were going back and forth with the text messages. Did you hear about this?
I did hear about it.
And they lost like 50,000 text messages, and all of all of a sudden the records start when Mueller was appointed. And it's like they were all lost up to that day. Yeah. And the day that Mueller was appointed, all of a sudden the text messages are back, not the ones that were lost, but everything moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's like, So there are probably some shenanigans going on there. The net effect of all of this is that nobody's going to trust government ever again. And I know that ship for many people is already sailed, but for the few people who are left who actually trust the government, yeah. How do you trust after this?
Well, the clear thing that I think comes through on all of this is a different set of rules for different people, and it was one of the big things that upset me about Hillary and Bill, and why I would never have voted for Hillary, was because it seemed like they really played by a whole different set of rules, that they could get away with whatever they did and wouldn't be held accountable for anything. Well, it seems like Trump is also playing by his own set of rules, and both sides do this and point the finger at the other side. But the reality is that people have lost faith in everything because these guys can get away with it. And essentially, Trump's thing is going to be, well, I can lie because I'm the president, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Tough luck. I mean, that was Clinton's spiel. That was Nixon's spiel, right? I mean, we can go back. I mean, there's, I'm a president. Presidents lie. Deal with it.
And I'm speechless because I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'm naive. I know that I was naive before. I'm not anymore. I'm not anymore. It's been a while since I was that naive, but I think that there should be at least a little honor in government, and apparently there's just not.
Yeah. Well, the ones who actually have honor don't.
They don't make it that far.
They don't make it that far. They don't.
They don't.
They fall on their sword somewhere else. They get taken out.
So, the theater of the absurd continues in Washington.
Yes, it does. Hey, speaking of theater of absurd, I just sent you a link on Facebook because I saw something that I thought was absolutely hilarious. Burger King has created this new ad, and it's I say ad. It's Whopper neutrality, and they're using the sale of the Whopper as a way to explain net neutrality, and it's pretty clear that at least some of the customers that are in this thing were actually real customers who got really ticked off because they went to buy their Whopper, and the guy wouldn't give it to them, and they pointed up at the sign and said, well, did you pay for a fast Whopper, a slow Whopper, or a medium Whopper for the speed? And if you paid the like $26, then you got your Whopper quick.
Oh my God!
But if you only
$26 Whopper?
But most people paid the $4, which is the slow Whopper, and so the guy's literally standing there holding the bag just out of their reach, with looking at his watch and saying, "I can't give it to you yet. I can't give it to you yet." And these people are like, "I want my Whopper."
I'm hungry, dude.
And he won't give it to them. And then he's trying to explain to them, well, Burger King made this decision that they would sell more chicken sandwiches if they put these lanes in, these fast and slow lanes in for the Whopper, and and these people are like cursing at him. And a couple of them are like younger guys who jump across the counter and rip the bag out of his hand and run out of the restaurant.
So do you think they were actors? You think they were real people?
Okay, so I'm saying there were a couple of them that I thought, because they showed a whole bunch of people with this interaction. There were a couple that I thought were actors, and then there were a couple
because they were acting.
Yeah,
right.
But then there were a couple that were very clearly like actual customers who were just like floored. And
probably incensed.
And incensed and angry and like, you can't do this to me. I paid for it. Give me my food, And, yeah, it was funny. I mean, I was kind of laughing. But then at the same time, I thought about how, because it's a political issue, how it may cut across different lines. Some people may look at this and go, oh, how cute and funny, and, and maybe think that they want to go into Burger King. Others would look at this and go, oh my God, I can't believe they're, taking that political position, and I would never go in there now because they're bashing, my president and my party, which stood up against this crazy net neutrality. You know what I mean? And so, I kind of laugh. I think it's funny, but at the same time, it's the politics of everything.
But people who work in advertising will tell you that the consumer really wants the political ad. I guess that's how people are buying nowadays. And for me, it drives me insane. Like, just give me my hamburger. Or give me my whatever. I don't need to. I don't want all this political claptrap. So, but this is how advertising is going.
Well, I like I said, I giggled at this one. I thought this one was funny, but I in my mind I'm imagining other people being incensed by it. So I just had to share it with you because it's kind of an absurd ad, and it looks like it's just a web ad. Like, I don't think this is something that's going to run on TV. It's
not going to be a Super Bowl ad.
Well, maybe. You know what? Actually, now that you say that, maybe this was designed for like a preview of a Super Bowl ad. But I got a chuckle out of it. So I had to talk about it because you said absurd.
It is absurd. So just so for people who don't know, yes, net neutrality passed the FCC, but attorneys general for 21 states and Washington D.C. are suing to block its repeal. Apparently, internet changes could go into effect as early as this year, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
So
Lawsuits.
Indeed. So it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood from the Dell Small Business Studios. We are bombarding ourselves with what is known as blue light from our phones, our computers, and more. And too much blue light at night is not good for you. Our CBS News colleague, Dr. Malika Marshall, introduced us to a man who is shutting out blue light at night.
Edward Huckach has trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, so he's made big changes at home.
It's just become regular routine.
His television, tablet, and computer are set up so he sees warmer colors from dusk to dawn. And so is the lighting in his home. He's trying to block blue light from electronics and energy-efficient light bulbs at night.
It does help me feel more ready for sleep and get to sleep a lot easier.
Dr. Charles Seisler of Brigham and Women's Hospital has been studying blue light for years. He says exposure at night throws off the body's biological clock and suppresses the release of the sleep hormone, melatonin.
We've done studies showing if we read, for example, from an iPad in the few hours before bedtime, that resets our circadian clock by about an hour and a half later.
And he says there's evidence that exposure to blue light at night may affect more than just sleep.
Shifting our circadian rhythms repeatedly has been associated with increased risk of various types of cancer, including colorectal cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer.
So what should people do?
His best advice, if you work nights or use a lot of devices at night, use apps or settings like Edward does. Most importantly, avoid bright screens 2 to 3 hours before bed.
On the nights where I'm really compliant, yes, it does help significantly. On nights where you're not compliant, you really can feel it.
And that's why Edward chooses to pick up an actual book before bed.
The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood.
Nothing says love more than chocolate. So don't forget, Valentine's Day is Wednesday, February 14th. What better gift than Donna's truffles that are made individually with love and care. Valentine's Day is a special day for everyone, especially when we have a romantic partner whom we're trying to impress. Give it a little thought. When it comes to Valentine's Day candies, nothing is more impressive than an elegant box of artisan handmade truffles of Donna's Truffles. These chocolate gourmet treats will melt their hearts the moment the flavor explodes in their mouth as they bite into that first piece. We can mix and match all your loved one's favorite flavors to give it that personal touch. Don't forget to surprise your family members and all the friends you love as well. With Donna's Truffles, they'll all feel special that you remembered them with an elegant gift and know that they are loved by you. Ask Alexa for Donna's Truffles. Google Donna's Truffles at donnastruffles.com. For more info, it's 951-682-2091. That's 951-682-2091.
Enjoy all the benefits of green tea with Quantum Nutrition Lab's revolutionary and highly absorbable Green Tea PG. Buy 2, get the third one free. Call 888-588-7578 or visit us online at qnlabs.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Marshall, PhD, host of Healthline. Tune in to get your questions answered and hear the latest breakthrough information for you and your family.
Sports Circus with Sal Tizolino.
Introducing former Major League Baseball player Brett Boone.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been getting some text, and I've got some inside information, and I can't really tell you right now.
You never know what's going to happen in the Sports Circus.
I'll share with you that I just got some insider information, so I can't share it yet.
It's official, ladies and gentlemen. There is a new New York Yankees manager, and you heard it right here first in the nation.
Just like a circus.
He's the ringmaster. Sports Circus with Sal Tizolino.
All right, Aaron got the job.
Hey, brother. Sports Circus, Monday through Friday, right here on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM.
KCAA.
It's getting to the point where I'm no fun anymore. I am sorry
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we're on The Brink, the morning show here on KCAA. I love me some Crosby, Stills, and Nash. All right. So the Larry Nassar verdict has come down. And this guy, we haven't talked much about him. This guy is an absolute monster.
He really is.
An absolute monster. The judge actually took a long time to kind of unload on him. The former sports doctor who admitted molesting some of the nation's top gymnasts for years was sentenced Wednesday to 40 to 175 years in prison as the judge declared, "I just signed your death warrant." The sentence capped a remarkable 7-day hearing in which scores of Larry Nassar's victims were able to confront him face-to-face in a Michigan courtroom. Judge Rosemarie Acalina said Nassar's decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, and despicable. She added, "It's my honor and privilege to sentence you. You do not deserve to walk outside a prison ever again." Nassar turned to the courtroom gallery to make a brief statement before his sentencing, saying the accounts of more than 150 victims had shaken me to my core. He said, "No words can describe how sorry he is for his crime. I will carry your words with me for the rest of my days," he said, as many of his accusers wept. Nassar, who is 54, pleaded guilty to assaulting 7 people in the Lansing area, but the sentencing hearing had been open to anyone who said they were a victim. His accusers said he would use his ungloved hands to penetrate them, often without explanation, while they were on the table seeking help for various injuries. Nassar had already been sentenced to 60 years in federal prison for child pornography crimes. He is scheduled to be sentenced next week on more assault convictions in Eaton County, Michigan. And one of his victims says that he abused her and missed that she had broken her leg. He's the doctor.
Yes.
For USA Gymnastics.
He's terrible. And the judge is absolutely amazing. She really is. You know, the way she handled this thing, that she gave every one of those victims the opportunity to make a victim statement. 150 women that got up there and
crazy, right?
And described what had happened to them and talked about what needed to happen to this man. And it's interesting. He still thinks of himself as a doctor. And he's still sort of making comments about that he really, was just trying to help or whatever garbage in his twisted way of thinking. And I love the way these young women called him out and the way the judge basically put it back on him 100%, And sometimes when you see these really long sentences, you think, oh, it's just overkill, it's theatrics. In this case, I think it absolutely fit the crime.
So you think about this girl who, he, instead of diagnosing her broken leg, he molested her, and she continued to compete despite severe leg pain because she didn't know it was broken because her doctor was too busy diddling her.
Yeah, disgusting, right?
Yes,
and
these are
a
elite
doctor.
gymnasts.
Yeah.
This is somebody who could have gone farther. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, the next level of this is really when they start to go after the other people who knew, because there was people that, many of these girls in their testimony and their conversations said, well, I told, and nothing was done.
Right.
And so now
it's like Sandusky, right?
Yeah. And so now you're gonna see people going back, and it's was it University of Wisconsin, where they had because he was the doctor at one of the university programs, and then he also was at the Corelli Ranch or whatever.
For Bella Caroli.
Which was where they did USA Gymnastics, and so he did 2 different locations, and girls at each location have said that they spoke out. And
I think it was the University of Michigan because that's where he was tried.
Okay, Michigan. Okay, thank you. And but there are people in both of those locations that I think are going to have charges. Because they didn't do anything. They're mandated reporters, some of these folks, and I think that there's going to be a reckoning for them as well.
Especially for the ones who were told. There are people I'm sure who kind of knew without knowing. You know what I mean? When something like this is going on, people around you know, even if they aren't willing to admit it to themselves. But for the ones who were actually told and decided to do nada, those people should be sitting in jail next to him.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that's the next step of this.
Yep.
I don't think that we're anywhere near done with this. With this many victims, You know?
But it makes me wonder in some of these elite sports, because in gymnastics, like other elite sports, because these girls come from all over the country, they will often go live wherever they're training. And I know that
true.
certainly happened at the Caroli Ranch. That's why he had the ranch.
Yep.
And so, first of all, what other sports does this kind of living arrangement happen? And is this going on anywhere else?
Yeah.
Because these doctors and trainers and they have access to these kids 24/7.
I feel for the parents as well, who must be dealing with a horrible amount of guilt, because they convinced themselves that what they were doing was obviously, they thought, in the best interest of their kids and their future.
And they spent a fortune to do it.
They did, and gave up. I mean, if someone asked us to have our kids go live some other place without us to do this sort of training, you and I would probably have said no, because we wouldn't have given up. I can't imagine being away from our kids like that. I mean, that's a major, major decision, and these people did it because they were sold this dream, right? Your kid is going to be this Olympic, this top-notch elite, and this is a high honor, and I understand why they made that decision, but I know how hard it must have been to make that decision, and then to find out that they literally were handing their child off to this pedophile, I mean, it's the parents themselves have got to be broken up as well.
So what happens to this scumbag in prison?
Well, we've heard stories about what happens to pedophiles, right? He may not last long, or he may end up spending his whole prison time essentially locked in a single cell, getting out for an hour a day by himself, because if he's around people, he's going to be a target, because he's sick. He's sick.
He's evil.
He's evil, and they'll go at him. Now, I keep saying victims, and I'm actually kind of mad at myself for saying that, because the judge, I think, rightfully said to these women, you're no longer victims, now you're survivors. And I think, we need to get away from that language. These are strong women who stood up for themselves. They are survivors, and they need to be applauded, every single one of them.
Yep.
Yep.
These aren't shrinking violets. These are elite athletes. These women are elite athletes.
Yep.
If you get to the point where you're would come into contact with Nasser, you're an elite athlete. So, with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. President Trump is planning to carry his America First message to world leaders in Switzerland. Trump will meet with several European business leaders today at the World Economic Forum in Davos. He'll also meet with other world leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump will deliver the keynote speech at the forum tomorrow. Meanwhile, the president says he's looking forward to being interviewed under oath about alleged ties between Russia and the Trump campaign. Trump talked about it with reporters last night.
You would do it under oath?
Oh, I would do it under oath, yeah.
The president said an interview with special counsel Robert Mueller could take place in the next few weeks. His lawyer later said the president was in a hurry and meant he's willing to testify, but they're still negotiating the terms with the FBI. Mueller reportedly wants to talk to the president about fired FBI Director James Comey and also former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
The Baseball Hall of Fame will be adding 6 players during its July induction ceremony in Cooperstown, New York. Chipper Jones and Jim Thome were elected in their first year of eligibility. Jones named on 97% of the ballots. Vladimir Guerrero was elected in his second try, and closer Trevor Hoffman received the required number of votes in his third year on the ballot. Mariners designated hitter Edgar Martinez fell 20 votes shy with 70.4%. Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds also came up short in the balloting, although each saw a slight increase. Staying with baseball, Glenn Perkins has confirmed his expected retirement, ending a 12-year Major League career. NBA, the Houston Rockets earned their 4th straight win, their 7th in their last 9. A 104-97 victory at Dallas. The Boston Celtics ended their season-worst 4-game losing streak, 113-102 victory over the Clippers. That's sports. I'm Seth Everett.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker. In Temecula on the 15 northbound at the 79 South Temecula Parkway, there's actually a traffic alert. Actually, both northbound and southbound off-ramps are closed at Temecula Parkway, as well as Temecula Parkway under the 15. All of it's closed because there's a gas line that they're repairing, and they should be done by about 8 a.m. this morning. Traffic is definitely backed up in the area. In Ontario, on the 10 eastbound at Etiwanda Avenue, a stalled big rig is blocking the on-ramp. And in Rainbow, on the 15 northbound at Rainbow Valley Boulevard, a crash is on the left shoulder. This has been your traffic on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind.
This is Gary Garver. If you're a coffee drinker like I am and enjoy special brews that have a unique taste, I have the perfect premium selection for you, Volcanic Red Coffee. Volcanic Red Coffee receives its great green coffee beans from all over the world. Volcanic Red drum roasts their beans by hand for the optimal roast experience. They then put their whole or grinded coffee beans in pods and packages and ship them out to you the same day you place your order. Volcanic Red Coffee takes great pride in making sure your coffee is as fresh as if you picked the coffee beans yourself. Right now, Volcanic Red Coffee is offering a 50% discount on all coffee products. Go to www.volcanicredcoffee.com. That's www.volcanicredcoffee.com and type in the promo code GARY50 to receive a 50% discount. That's promo code GARY50. That's a 50% discount off of 2 or more bags or pods. Volcanic Red Coffee for all your premium coffee needs.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show here on KCAA. And here's a story in the Press Enterprise about the San Bernardino County's Children and Family Services that is really disturbing. There's a lawsuit. San Bernardino County CFS did not tell adoptive parents about the boy's history, about their adopted son, a boy's history of violence and sexual abuse. A federal lawsuit filed on Tuesday by the adoptive parents of 2 boys alleges the San Bernardino County's Department of Children and Family Services failed to disclose that one of the boys had a history of sexually abusing his younger brother, and other children. The unnamed adoptive parents, identified as Jane and John Doe, allege direct and derivative negligence, civil rights violations, and violations of federal adoption and child welfare laws by the county, among other things. In March 2017, the plaintiffs adopted 2 boys, but were never informed of the older boy's history of violent and sexually abusive behavior towards his younger brother. Prior to being adopted, the brothers had been in the foster system for about 3.5 years. Between 2013 and 14, the older brother was reported to have engaged in inappropriate behavior with a female foster child, which required removal from the foster home. In July 2014, at a different foster home, he sexually and physically assaulted his younger brother multiple times. In late 2016 or early 2017, the younger brother informed his assigned counselor about what his brother was doing to him. She assured him something would be done, but instead, the boy was put on psychotropic medication, Depakote, and told he was psychologically unstable and a bad person. Prior to the boys being adopted, the younger boy's counselor told him not to tell his prospective adoptive parents about their, quote, secrets, because he would be removed from their home and moved to another foster home. Our client, a young child, suffered severe injuries and lifelong damage as a result of negligence caused by the County of San Bernardino Department of Children and Family Services. Crazy, right?
I'm absolutely floored. I'm reading this, and I'm absolutely floored, and I'm sick in my stomach because on so many levels this is wrong. This is just so wrong. And again, you have a person here who has an obligation to protect these children.
And even from each other.
Yes. And by not telling the new adoptive parents, they were essentially allowing for this behavior to continue. It was
well, and to tell
unspeakable.
the younger child, oh, your sexually violent brother, that's not a big deal. You're a bad person, and here you need to be on psychotropic meds.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you meds so that you quit talking about the sexual abuse you're enduring.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think about typically, and they don't go into too much detail here about the parents, but people who typically adopt like this, these are people who've maybe not been able to have kids of their own. That this is something that they've really thought long and hard about, and they're really wanting to sort of help, take these kids in and love them and to provide them with a stable home. And you can't do that if you don't know all the facts.
So after the two boys were adopted, the younger boy told his adoptive parents on March 26, 2017, that his brother had been threatening to kill him with a knife and that he held the knife to the boy's neck. He told his new parents that his brother had done the same thing before when they were living in foster homes and that he had reported the incidents to his counselor, but she did not want to report the incidents and instead wanted to get the boy into therapy. The younger boy subsequently began sleeping in his parents' room, but his older brother had tried sneaking in on 2 occasions. He also tried intimidating his adoptive mother when she tried to correct him, according to the lawsuit. Here's the thing. We need foster families. There are a lot of foster kids in the system. We need foster families. And if it comes out that essentially the foster families are being lied to,
yeah,
then nobody will trust the system to give them the information that they need to make an informed decision about adoption.
Yeah. Now, there's a bigger picture here because apparently back in 2016, CFS came under scrutiny by the grand jury, which concluded in its annual report that the department was rife with systemic failures, including a communication breakdown between social workers and law enforcement that thwarted child abuse investigations. Additionally, the grand jury concluded that social workers were reluctant to remove children from abusive homes. So, I mean, this is not just an isolated event, and these issues that were identified in 2016 are still continuing.
Yep.
So this is just one example, and so wow. I mean, this is serious, and hopefully the county and the people that are responsible for this department get in there and start cleaning it up.
Now, I understand that the older brother also needs counseling,
yeah,
but he needs to be in a situation where he cannot hurt other people.
Yeah.
Just because you have compassion for him, for that older child, doesn't mean that that other people in his life have to be in harm's way.
Yeah.
You can have compassion for everybody in this situation. My guess is that older boy was violently sexually abused as a child before he moved into the foster system,
yeah,
and I'm sure he obviously needs help. But in the meantime, he shouldn't be in a situation where he can abuse other people.
And the question becomes, what's the right setting? Where do you place this kid, and how do you place this kid? And I'm not sure.
They're supposed to be experts in this, Tobin.
Yeah, no, I know. But I'm, probably not a family setting, right?
Yeah.
And then the alternative means probably a group home, but those are not great settings either. They have plenty of issues in group home settings, and there's still kids there. So it's, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer to this one is, and it's probably going to cost a lot of money. And that always, no one wants to talk about that, but that's always a factor as well, right?
Yep.
Because these departments have limited budgets, and how do you deal with the extreme case?
I feel for this family.
I do too.
Because they stepped up and did the right thing and adopted kids from the foster system, and God bless them for doing that. And holy smokes, they were, this kind of lie is impacts there forever, right? Because these aren't foster kids. They can't send them back. These are adopted children, and so, wow, just wow. So, on to other things.
Yes.
Here's a list of toys. And again, if you want more information about that, the article that we were talking about was from the Press Enterprise. Apparently, Toys R Us and Babies R Us stores are closing throughout Southern California at various locations. Not all of them, but it's a company that's not doing well.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because when I first saw the title of this, I kind of thought, are they even still open? Because it's not a place that we shop anymore. And I watched years ago when they had closings, and they've been impacted by a variety of different market forces, right? When Toys R Us first started getting big, you began to watch places like Walmart and Target and other places begin to beef up their toy selection, thus taking away market share.
And I remember when our kids were little, I didn't want to go to Toys R Us because the stores were always messy.
Yeah.
Their stores, it was just, they were loud, they were crowded, and always a mess.
Yeah, and they were pricey.
Yeah, and yes, they were also pricey.
They were pricey. Now they typically had the best selection of toys. So if you really wanted to get like the widest selection, that was the right place to go.
Or board games.
But but it wasn't always the best deal. Now with Amazon and other things, apparently it's just pushed them to the limit, and people feel like they're maybe on death watch, right? And so they're closing all of these stores, and apparently there's they're closing 182 stores nationwide, but 14 of them are in Southern California. And I was kind of surprised because I didn't realize we actually had that many of them still around.
So there are the closest Toys R Us that's the Toys R Us's that are the Toys R Us's, is that Toys R I? Toys R Us's that are closing are Santa Ana on Bristol and Mission Bay on Morena, and Babies R Us, Simi Valley, Santa Clarita, Brea, Westminster, Torrance, Mira Mesa, and Vista. And then the combination stores are a little closer to home: West Covina, Puente Hills, Corona, Indio, and Riverside. The Riverside store is on Canyon Springs Parkway.
Yeah, the Riverside store I've seen over the years, and I think maybe a decade ago I might have popped into, and it's over kind of by Moreno Valley,
Yes.
It's kind of like on the border of Riverside and Moreno Valley. But it's in an awkward location, and it's one of those ones where I've driven by on the freeway and I never saw a lot of cars there.
The thing about it too is I have ordered, because we've got nephews that are young, and so I have ordered Toys R Us toys for them, and they live across the country, so that I ordered them online so they could be shipped directly to them for Christmas or birthdays or whatever.
Yeah. And
they shipped the wrong stuff. Like, I bought them this cute little car, those little plastic cars that they move with their feet.
Yes.
That are, and the boys are orange and red and yellow, red car, yellow top.
Yes.
And the girls, the girls, and they, it's gendered, whatever. The girls is like purple and pink.
Yeah.
But I bought it for 2 boys, so I bought for them to share. And boy, was your sister surprised when the pink and purple one showed up.
Right.
It has flowers on it. And she was laughing. She's like, yeah, Aaron, I have boys. I'm like, I had to send her the receipt, right? No, I swear I bought the red and yellow one.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
That's the kind of customer snafu that loses you business.
Yeah, and guess what? It lost them business.
Right.
So, I don't think retailers fully grasped the importance of the internet in shopping.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in terms of Sears. There was no other company that should have moved into the internet realm better than Sears. They had a catalog business for 100 years.
Yes.
So they understood fulfillment in a way that other brick and mortar retailers didn't.
Yes.
But they dropped the ball. They muffed it royally. And their brand is forever damaged. I don't know that they will survive.
It's so sad. It's so sad. But definitely we are going through a major economic transition, and looks like Toys R Us is another one that's we'll be talking about in the history books.
Isn't that sad? No more Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Well, they're not completely shut down.
What was the song, though? Do you remember the song?
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with.
Right?
Yes.
See, so they
no
hooked
trucks,
ya.
no trains, no video games. It's the biggest toy store there is. Do you remember this?
I do.
I don't want to grow up, because baby, if I did, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us kid.
I love it. I love it. She knows the whole song.
How do I remember that? I have no idea. So, with that, it's time for another break already. I'm Aaron Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we'll be right back.
And now, Inland Empire Today with Blake Trolley.
Britney Spears is going to be touring around the world. Let's get into our entertainment report.
Go crazy,
Britney Spears is taking her Las Vegas Piece of Me show on tour around the world. The pop star confirmed the trek on Instagram, saying she's taking the show to select cities in North America, Europe, and the UK this summer. Spears began her Las Vegas residency in 2013 and dropped the curtain on the run this past New Year's Eve, due out. That's entertainment. Lisa G. NBC News Radio.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
This segment of programming sponsored by Cybertime Network Communications. How's your internet? Slower than what you were paying for? Feeling boxed in with the high cost of the internet? It can be frustrating and expensive, and with net neutrality coming, it's not getting any easier. Ready for a better high-speed internet service? Then you're ready for Cybertime. And they're local and right in your own backyard. Cybertime provides connectivity for all our transmissions you're listening to at KCAA. Cybertime is locally owned and will respond to your needs with the best service. It's crisp, cool, fast, and sleek. Cybertime uses the latest, leading-edge microwave technology to be able to offer clients a safe, reliable, public or private network that fits almost any budget size. Numerous local city agencies rely on Cybertime's microwave private network for their most critical mission applications. You should too. Get connected, stay connected, get smart, get Cybertime. You can Google, text, or call Cybertime Network Communications at 909-795-9559. Cybertime Network Communications in Calamasa.
Father John Reed.
When you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants in your room. It's for fun.
Atheist pastor Luke King.
I don't believe in God. I believe in science.
The Gospel of Luke and John.
I'm Father John Reed.
And I'm Luke King. Join us for Our Gospel, the Gospel of Luke and John, our new show.
The most divine hour on radio, somewhere between Billy Graham and the Young Turks.
Right here, starting on October 19th at 8 p.m. on the stations that leave no listener behind.
KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. Or stream us live at kcaaradio.com.
Luke.
John.
8 p.m. every Thursday.
This is KCAA.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. And looks like another cop is going to get off.
Yeah, so there's a story that was out last year that we covered that really captured everyone's attention. An Orange County off-duty LAPD officer, had some kids walking across his lawn after school, and he got into a scuffle with one of these kids, and it got caught on video. And he had this kid kind of like in a headlock, and all the kid's friends were milling around, and another kid like charged this off-duty cop and knocked him down. And when the cop popped back up, he pulled out his gun. Now, he's not dressed like a cop. He's in civilian clothes. Pulled out a gun and let off a shot. And then all the kids scattered. But
he didn't shoot them.
He didn't shoot anyone.
He didn't shoot at them. He shot.
It went into the ground.
Okay.
The shot went into the ground. And he maintained control of the kid that I guess he was most interested in keeping control of. And then the Orange County police showed up, and they arrested two of the kids. And the off-duty officer was not arrested. And then over the next week, there was a series of rallies and marches in Orange County because everyone was upset that these kids were being targeted, and the officer had sort of gotten away with it. And everyone said that he was, the officer was the aggressor. He was the one who really crossed a line, and we all get frustrated with kids sometimes, but you don't grab these kids that you don't know and you don't pull your gun on them.
Well, in his defense, and I say another cop got off like he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
In his defense, they were on his property and they wouldn't leave.
Well, it's a little more detailed than that. So they actually have they explain why they're dropping the charges. But here's what was written in the OC Register, and I want to read this to you because it's fascinating to me. The trouble began around 2:38 p.m. that day when Dortch, this is a student, walked home from school with 3 friends. A 13-year-old girl walked on the driveway of Ferguson's home, and Ferguson is the off-duty officer, when he called her a B, according to claims made in new videos.
Who's the he, the 13-year-old boy?
I'm not sure. According to claims made in a new video shown at the press conference, Dortch stood up for his friend, but the group decided to continue walking home. Newly released surveillance footage from a couple houses down shows Ferguson pursuing Dortch before grabbing a hold of him. At one point, the 33-year-old man at the time kicked the teen in the groin before losing control of him. In another new cell phone video, Ferguson regained control of Dortch on a neighbor's lawn and placed him in a headlock. Although Beatty, who's the assistant district attorney, stated that Ferguson unfortunately and unwisely followed the teen, he didn't deem it unreasonable or illegal because the off-duty cop can be heard on video contending that Dortch criminally threatened him by allegedly saying, "I'm going to shoot you." He had the right to make a private person's arrest irrespective of his status with law enforcement. Dortch told Ferguson during the scuffle that he, in fact, said, "I'm going to sue you," but the attempt to clarify didn't de-escalate the situation. As the video goes on to show, a 15-year-old black teen attempted to free his friend when a crowd of youth started to gather around. He later threw a punch at Ferguson when another 16-year-old shoulder tackled him over some hedges. How did OCDA explain away the second critical question of the off-duty cop pulling a concealed gun from his waistband and firing a shot into the ground? The Assistant DA Baite drew attention to a third teen who jumped over the hedges, pulled a pencil tucked behind his ear, and shoved it into his back pocket. Even though Ferguson declined to give statements to Anaheim police beyond what he said to them afterward at the scene, Baite rationalized his actions. This is the time that you see Mr. Ferguson looking directly at him and then reaching for the gun, Baite said, pointing to video stills of the teen. Now, when the weapon is out, John Doe 4 starts moving away. If Ferguson feared the old furtive movement by the back waistband, he fired a single shot away from the teen and into the ground. So they're saying, I guess what they're saying is because this kid pulled the pencil from behind his ear and stuck it in his pocket, that was enough provocation that this officer feared for his life and was then thus legally able to pull the gun out and shoot it into the ground, and that was not criminal. So with an explanation for Ferguson's decision to detain Dortch and later fire his weapon he legally carried as an off-duty cop, all that remained was the painfully obvious: a private person, we're not talking about a police officer, may arrest another individual for public defense. And that was
so this thing went from 0 to 1,000 in seconds.
Yes.
And honestly, the adult in the room should have had better control of his own emotions.
Yes.
Or not in the room, but adult in the situation. And he didn't.
He didn't.
Because you can't expect a 13-year-old to be able to control their emotions. They just, it's not in them.
And this guy's, an officer, and, you wonder about how he's treating people when he's actually on duty, If he's so easily fired up in a situation like this with some kids, it's all quite troubling, and I suspect you're going to see more people marching and complaining because they're not going to be happy with this decision by the district attorney not to charge the officer.
So, and this is in the OC Weekly, not the OC Register.
Oh yeah, sorry, OC Weekly.
Interesting. I'm sure plenty of commentary will continue to come out. And so now I want to talk about the obvious.
Yes.
California is in the list of the top 4 worst places to drive in the country. I actually am surprised that we're not number 1.
Right? Well, number 1 is Hawaii, and I'm like, we're going there. I don't want to be stuck in traffic.
Okay, but I have to tell you what it is with Hawaii. The roads are narrow.
Yes.
And there's in some places like on Oahu, there are some maybe. Cam Highway is your way to get around, King Kamehameha Highway.
Yeah.
Cam Highway is your way to get around, and people drive, I'm not joking, so slowly, it's not even funny. So you can't get around a guy who's doing 40 on the freeway.
Yeah.
And so that is enough to make anyone crazy.
Yes. Okay. Well, the best states are Texas, Aaron. Texas is number one. And Aaron's doing a little happy dance because she was born in Texas, and so she's a Texan. Yes.
So, and number 2 is Kansas, where you were born.
And who was born in Kansas?
That's you.
That's right.
Number 3 is Nebraska, followed by Iowa. And some of these places, they have lots of wide open spaces where you can just, put the pedal to the metal and fly.
Yes. Well, in Kansas, if you don't like the traffic on the road, you just drive through the fields. Not really, but it sounds like fun, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Well, and in some areas, you might encounter a tractor on the road.
Right.
And that's in Texas, too. So Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and North Carolina are the top 5 best places, followed by Oregon, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Illinois. Illinois being one of the best. It must, did they take the Chicagoland area out and just cover the rest of the state?
Right. They're not really counting Chicago.
Yes, seriously. And the worst is Hawaii, Washington, Maryland, California, Connecticut, Alaska, which surprised me, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and New York.
Now, I would think that New Jersey and New York would be higher up on the list.
I would too.
Big
but again,
metropolitan
they have
areas. The cold weather messes with the roads as well.
Lots of toll roads.
I mean, so yeah.
Yeah, that actually surprises me as well, especially to see Alaska higher on the list than the population centers, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. Because there's also, the thing that makes it difficult to drive in a lot of places is just population density.
Yeah. Well, this is based off of 23 key indicators of a positive commute. So I'm not sure. I'd have to go look at their complete study to see what those 23 items were. But, it's not just how quickly you get there.
So we're at the end of our show for today. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA.